Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Fork. From East Hampton to Riverhead, we worship and reside on the ancestral lands of the Montucket, the Shinnecock, and the Carchog. We take this time to acknowledge the indigenous people who claimed this land as home before European colonization, and to honor our relationship with our Shinnecock neighbors today in their continued struggles for sovereignty and justice. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you vote, whatever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, whatever your name for the sacred, you are very welcome here. Today, Pam Wittenberg and I will be your worship leaders. Pam is the newest member of our worship committee, and we're very grateful to have her. We will also hear from Monica Sazada, Sue Penny, and Tuna Flores. Our musician this morning is Abby Fleming. Our technicians are Carl Wittenberg, who put this digital marvel together and is still at the computer linking it all, Ken Martin backing him up, and Tuna Flores at the camera. You can find information about how to connect to events this week in your e-bulletin. And you can get announcements that you would like announced to the congregation, to our administrator, by Tuesday of the week that you want them announced. If you are visiting, please put your name and contact information in the chat, and someone from our welcome team will reach out to you. You can also feel free to contact our minister, Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson, or connect with our Care and Connection team through John Anderson. You will find both of these addresses in your chat. So let's open this morning's service by lighting a chalice with words from Leslie Takahashi. On the brink, all that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life we share. And now we'll begin with the hymn, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Although few of us have gone through a formal quarantine or self-isolation, if your experience has been anything like mine for the last year and a half, it certainly feels as though self-isolation is the best way to describe it. So to help lead us out, your worship committee has chosen joy. What does it feel like? When does it happen? How can we find more of it? We'll start with Sue Penny.
Good morning. I offered to speak this morning about joy during hard times. And I'm dividing hard times as times when you have special sadness, anger, fear. And it made me think of a story I think I've told before. Someone several years ago had attended a Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monks' weekend. And she came with great anger at George Bush. Remember those days? And so she really said, George Bush, my anger is ruining my life, and I don't know what to do about it. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, first, you need to bring joy into your life. And second, you could picture George Bush as a 5-year-old and grow compassion. And so that has served me very well the last few years, picturing our politicians as 5-year-olds and feeling a little empathy for them. But the idea of bringing joy into your life at a hard time made sense to me. So this is a challenging time for me. The pandemic has certainly brought a lot of changes, a lot of loss. I'm talking to people most days of the week about their losses, so it compounds. And my husband's cancer has certainly added to the challenges. It's brought up all kinds of stress and emotions. So this has been a time, as they say, we best teach what we most need to learn. So I've been working very hard on bringing, I see this as like a scale from joy up here, and down here might be changing a moment, making it a little better, bringing in pleasure, bringing in happiness, and at the top of it, joy. I think it's all a worthy practice. So I've been using some of the latest, greatest therapy, I think, is DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. The dialectical, I just want to pull out, is the thinking that opposites can be true at the same time. So we can be in pain and we can experience joy. Other examples are, I need to accept something and I need to work to change it. Can both be true. You'll notice I try not to say but, because I think but has a way of just canceling out what you just said. So that's a practice in itself. So you are right and the other person is right. That's been a little harder lately. You are doing the best you can, and you can try harder to do better, to learn more, to be motivated to change. You can take care of yourself, and you need help and support from others. Can both be true at the same time. So this thinking has really been very helpful to me. And just a minute more on DBT. At the back of one of our great manuals are 3 pages, skills for tolerating painful events and emotions when you cannot but make things better right away. So one of these, one page is all about distracting the mind. Again, making a moment a little better. With activities, I walk every day. You know, there are things that I keep very active doing. They don't have grandchildren in here or children, but I think they should be in there. With contributing, everybody in this room knows about contributing and helping others. With comparison, comparing yourself to someone less fortunate. With changing opposite emotions. So I have a practice of watching Friends every night before I go to bed. There's something about laughing with that TV series Friends that really works for me. Pushing it away, just, I'm not going to think about this right now. Taking a little vacation. And there are many other things they suggest. What I like about these 3 pages is we're all doing it. You know, I think you see things in here. Oh, yeah, I do that. A cup of hot tea. That makes me feel better. That's worth doing. So there's self-soothing with the 5 senses, visually, with hearing, good music, lighting a candle, smells, tastes, a good meal, touch, a hot bubble bath, those kind of things. And this last page is improving the moment with imagery, you know, imagining yourself in a relaxing place, a safe place, with meaning, what is the purpose of what I'm going through, with prayer, with relaxation. So you get the idea. There's so much we can do in hard times to feel better. And I just want to close with, there's one big obstacle, I think, and that's guilt. You know, how do you not feel guilty when you're trying to feel good and people around you are suffering? That's a challenge, and I will keep working on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks, Sue. Nice job. And I have to agree with Sue about the idea that there's fun, there's pleasure, but somehow joy is way up here. Boy, it's been a tough year, tough since COVID. And I'm wearing today my personal bling outfit, which has only come out, this is the 3rd time since the pandemic it has made its way out of the closet. 2 weddings and today. This is an outfit I wear when I'm feeling joyful, and certainly the reopening of the meeting house has brought me immense joy that we're still a viable community. And I think I'm supposed to share, explain, expound on my relationship with joy. It seems for each of us that we get our messages from within, from our brain, our heart, our gut, our instinct, and other places. Joy is unique for me, and hopefully for others, in that it sort of transcends those bodily kinds of energies, and it's an opening of my heart. It's an opening of my mind, my spirit, my soul, and a warm and very personally nourishing kind of change in my energy. An aha moment to my spirit. When in life, I accomplished something, figured it out, completed something, I feel good. I feel prideful. But when these things are really beyond that, then I have joy. For me, joy has a lot to do with also surprise, in that the outcome of what I had just done or experienced has to have moved me to a new place. It has to have opened my eyes to see something or experience something I never imagined I would have experienced. So from things even as young as Christmas, opening a gift, or when I was younger, I was in the church choir and sang, but I started very young having to move along to another level. And so singing was a really fun thing at church. It was fun, but I got real joy when I moved along and found myself singing at St. John the Divine in the city, and then eventually at Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall when I was much younger and still a soprano. But those were real joyful events because, oh my God, look, it was just, I couldn't believe the experience that I was having. And so I learned in my earliest days that to find joy for me, I had to have a new experience. I had to live outside the box a little bit. And so I was encouraged, fortunately, by my family, my very loving family, to do that. And I actually owned and won trophies for my racing boat when I was 9. And a few years later, got on my bicycle with a friend and we went to Niagara Falls and then up through Montreal and back for the World's Fair in Montreal. And some years later, I went to Wyoming and became a cowboy. And each one of them changed me inside, but gave me joy of the experience of this is what our world has to offer. And moving along, I eventually climbed the Matterhorn, and I was in the Peace Corps in the Fiji Islands, and I was an explorer in the Amazon for the Museum of Natural History, and started working in music and music videos, and helped Patty with things at MTV, and it was crazy world. But each time I took another step, I wanted to be a little more living outside the box. And these things gave me joy. And then I got married. Patty, my soulmate, and I got married. But no, married is nothing. We got married to each other 5 times. 3 times in the US and twice in Bali, once at the Royal Palace by the Prince of Bali. And, well, hey, I just never learned how to do something small. But the experience of these things was just, kept expanding my joy. And eventually, we got tired of television and became acupuncturists. We went back to school and moved into the joy of helping people. Patty and I were some of the earliest people in the country to get licensed. And wow, you just can't imagine what it's like to help somebody who thought they'd never be able to get pregnant, and then help at the birth. I got to tell you, I was blissed out for days after my first birth. And even now, it's just an unbelievable, joyous moment to be in the delivery room. And, I've also become an officiant, and I've done a bunch of weddings. And I am proud to say that not a single one of the couples I married have ended up in divorce. So somehow or other, there's a bit of luck and the joy of helping people to start their new world. But the adventures have to continue for me. It's just how I am. People want to know, why haven't you written a book? Who's got time for that? I want a new adventure. I want a new joy. And I have to say that I have found a new partner for life, a new soulmate, somebody I've actually known for like nearly 50 years, Elizabeth Head. And we're moving forward. And I'm very happy and joyful to know that she's connected well with my mother, who's still around. But if I were to say anything about this to everyone out there listening, find your joy. Find what makes your heart sing to you. Find what reaches your soul. It could be gardening, it could be travel, it could be a good book. It doesn't matter. But find the thing that gives you joy again and again and again. Live the joy.
Thank you, Sue and Tuna. Now is a time in our community of shared faith when we share the deep joys, sorrows, and concerns of our hearts. If you have a joy or concern to share, please come up and take the hand mic, or if you're online, I'll ask you to unmute yourself and share your name. If you're joining from phone, you can unmute by pressing *6. You can also share your joy or concern in the chat. that was so great. We could hear Reverend Kimberly in the other room singing by herself. Oh gosh, and Kent, thank you. And here now are three more expressions of joy. Pam Wittenberg will begin, and then we'll hear from Monica Zazada, and then I have a few words.
There's joy in growth. Earlier this month, my son came to visit us from Atlanta, Georgia. And this coming June, he will be getting married. Almost 8 billion of us humans can take joy when we measure the milestones of our lives. But this visit with Eric reached a singular moment of joy in an unexpected way through a shared memory from long ago. It doesn't start off very happy, but joy is not about fairy tale happiness. It comes unpromised. Eric remembered a hot summer day when he, Hillary, and I went to Mecox Bay to go swimming. I remember this scene all too well. Eric had just turned 5 and Hillary was 2. There were many parents with their children in the bay laughing and splashing, and the water was shallow and calm. I had barely put everything down before my 2 went running toward the water, and my "wait for me" came a little too late. I had one leg out of my clothing when Hillary was already waist deep alongside her brother. Before I could take my other leg out, I saw her take a step and then just disappear under the water. Just like that, no ripples, no bubbles. I could see a look of panic and helplessness on Eric's face as I leaped from the shore. I reached down like an arrow into that murky bay water, found Hillary on the spot, pulled her up, and she took a huge gulp of air. Barely a half minute later, Hillary shook it off and wanted back in the water, where she continued to play with Eric as if nothing at all happened. And that's the beauty of being 2. Whereas from then on, Eric and I shared this memory, and I was never quite sure how his brain was processing that through the years. Now, over 20 years later, Eric, during this visit, told me how much he grew and learned about parenthood from that experience, and how he was ready to be that parent who takes his place in the watchtower, to see what he can see and to just do his best to respond to those things in life that come unscripted. Eric and I came to realize how joy comes unpromised and in those unexpected ways when you get another chance. And by knowing that, you welcome the journey with all the guilt, the growth, and the joy, however which way it comes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Monica, and I have to say that all your shares inspired me so much. It totally derailed what I wanted to say to begin with. So let's see whether I'll botch it or whether I will make some sense to you. Joy for me is the most desirable thing in life. And I usually, when I am pondering a theme or a concept, I like to start with a definition. So when I was asked to talk about joy, I was even thinking, what is joy? And for me, because I was questioning, isn't joy like happiness? And I concluded that happiness is something with which we expand the energy, which is sort of involving effort, whereas joy is receiving energy. And happiness feels like something elusive and not something that we can hold and enjoy for a long time, whereas joy is something that's very meditative, something with which ease comes, something with which contentment comes. I remember when I was looking for a husband, I went on eHarmony, and the question was, what do you desire most in your life? And it just came like poof, contentment. So joy for me equals contentment. I am also obsessed with optimization of everything. I took the Clifton Strengths test. I don't know if you know it. And it turned out that my 5 strengths, which I consider a curse, are competition, activating, maximizing, discipline, and focus. It is really a curse because I feel like I am running on empty sometimes. And recently I decided, as if what I have been doing hasn't been enough, I decided to be out there and create this course for people who are planning a home renovation. I do feel called for it, but I have to tell you that I have never been more uncomfortable for the last 6 months in my life. I feel overstretched. I feel overcommitted. So finding joy is certainly a huge challenge for me. And as a person who has these five characteristics, I love making lists. And my lists are always to-do lists. I arrived to the house. I decided to change from oil to gas, and I came to the house to 100 degrees because work was being done in my house while I was gone, and I was thinking nothing was going to go wrong. I have trusted people well. In construction, everything goes wrong. And again, I panicked, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm supposed to, talk about joy. What can I possibly do? What can I possibly say? So if I were to give some advice, it will be, this is what I am doing. I decided to sustain what I am doing, to sustain myself and to find joy, is to change the to-do list, because I love crossing off the to-do list items, with to-be list. So here I am being with everyone. I decided to go for a walk. I decided to take a massage. I decided to read a book, a novel that has nothing to do with marketing and media pitches and whatnot. So finding joy is really the most desirable thing in life. And I am so glad. And here I would like, in closing, to Tuna's bling. Here is my bling. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Pam and Monica. So just couldn't resist adding a word. After I left the farm and finished college, I thought I might write plays. I don't think I ever even got past a first act. Because looking back on my life, perhaps all I really wanted to do was make a living in a clean shirt. And I had a lot of good luck. My biggest stroke of luck was to get fired in my mid-30s. At the time, I was working at what I thought was a well-paid marketing director's job with a ho-hum future. Martha and I had 3 children to support and college expenses coming up in the near future. So when I was fired, I called everyone I knew and took the first job offered me. It was a sales job. But it turns out I had a talent for sales, and better yet, I loved it. It wasn't glamorous. I was selling names and addresses, credit data, and computer software to companies in the direct mail business. I developed a process. First step was to come up with 4 or 5 strategies every month or so, mostly for banks marketing credit cards. That was back in the time when you might receive 2 or 3 credit cards offers every time you opened your mail. And maybe some younger people still are receiving those, but believe me, Martha and I don't get many of those offers anymore. The next step was to find the key people making decisions at those banks and mail them each a letter explaining how I could save them money. Then a phone call to set up a meeting, 15 or 20 calls a day, depending on where I was in the cycle. Finally, the actual presentation and maybe a sale. Within a few years, I was making 4 or 5 times more than I was making as a marketing director. It was exciting and fun, but I always had something new next on my agenda. Okay, Mark, you made that sale, but what's happening tomorrow? It wasn't what I would call true joy, more of a victory. For comparison, let's think for a moment about the Christian concept of grace. Amazing grace, how sweet it is. I have often tried and failed to understand this Christian concept of grace. So don't expect me to explain it fully here. I'll steer away from the theological details and turn to Wikipedia, which tells us this. Grace is a spontaneous gift from God, generous, free, and totally unexpected and undeserved. Now, most of you know I'm an atheist. For me, it is life itself that will sometimes deliver one of these unearned, spontaneous gifts. And the emotion I feel when this happens is one of complete and utter joy. Believe me, I don't receive gifts like this very often. I remember 3 times in the past at the birth of each of our 3 grandsons. I remember another time, a double rainbow formed over our lake in the Adirondacks. I posed a grandson right at the foot of the rainbow and the pot of gold. I still have that picture. But recently, in these times of COVID isolation, I have felt the sense of joy creeping into my consciousness whenever I meet face to face with an old friend, or better yet, a group of old friends. So I want to thank you all for the joy you have given me in the past and are giving me now. And now, Abby will play My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Wait, I got that wrong, didn't I, Abby? Sorry.
Thank you, Abby. Our closing words are by Ben Sewell, a lifelong UU, entitled Warmth, Joy, Togetherness. Out of the darkness, light. Out of the light, warmth. Out of the warmth, joy. Out of the joy, togetherness. May this flame hold us for the time we are here with one another. We support the work of this congregation in many ways. And while we are meeting online, you can still contribute by PayPal or by check. Your financial contributions help to support the ongoing work of this congregation, including worship, religious exploration, and pastoral support. And your generosity is reflected in the ways that we are able to show up in our community for justice and community care. Our Helping Hands Fund provides support to local organizations, and our Ministers' Discretionary Fund provides support to individuals in need. You can contribute right now using PayPal with the link in the chat. You can also send a check made out to the UUCSF and mailed to our PO box. Be sure to put Sunday offering in the memo line. Thank you. We invite you to remain in the room and join us for informal conversation after this worship is over. If you are visiting, please put your name and contact number in the chat, and someone from our welcome team will reach out to you. You can also feel free to contact our minister, Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson, or reach out to our Care and Connection team. The links are in your chat. If you are visiting for the first time or the 50th time or the 500th time, and you are in agreement with our values, our mission, and our UU principles, we hope you will find a home here. It is the time in our service to extinguish our chalice. Let us all say the words together on the screen. You'll see them on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.